significant to me. I'm Napoleon, man. You can tell who was right and who was wrong, right? Objectively, the winter in Russia did make a difference to the invasion of Russia. Napoleon was wrong in his assessment of the significance of that particular factor, and he lost.
Hitler too.
Excuse me?
Hitler too.
Well, Hitler was an idiot. I mean, the problem with Napoleon is that he was a genius. You know, how did he make that mistake? Hitler was someone who believed in black magic and you know.
It was the same thing exactly. The winter.
Oh, of course, yeah, they swallowed him too. But Hitler made all kinds of other mistakes too, sending troops to places that his black magicians had told them were significant in a completely bogus way. Whereas Napoleon was the guy who brought the Pope to his coronation, and because the Pope was the one who puts the crown on you, and took the crown off the hands of the Pope and put it on himself. Yeah, that's when I was like clapping. I wasn't born at the point. But had I been born, I would have been clapping. Yes.
This isn't objectivity. It's a signification in and of itself. It's a word. So I feel like in what it actually manifests as, it's like this asymptote. You know, like to have something be like truly objective is like, you know, impossible.
Well, again, this is why I wish I had a gun right now.
No, but I'm saying.
Remember what I said at the beginning of the class? That my best way of putting this is like, do you believe in objectivity? No. Boom! Do you believe in objectivity? A gun with a bullet is a perfectly objective thing. There's no confusion as to what's going on.
Objectivity, that's not the perception of it. It's not about the
Well, no. Okay, I'm saying close your eyes.
I'm saying actually.
Close your eyes. You're not going to perceive the gun. I'm going to put it now. Now, is this objective or not? You would say yes immediately.
That's a trick question. It's completely trick question.
What if you're hallucinating? You think the gun is a flower?
Yeah.
It might not even affect you.
It will affect you.
You put it.
You probably won't notice it, but you will notice
Is the
it.
effect of the gun objective, or is the gun and the bullet itself objective?
The gun and the bullet are objective, and the wound that it's going to cause on your body is objective.
Then why isn't this cup or any other signifier objective?
No, that cup is not a signifier. If you're a human, if you're a Kantian, this is a signifier. If you're a Kantian, this is a real cup that exists in the pantheon of our minds, right?
Okay.
I turn my attention away, I turn back, still there. You know, it didn't go away when I didn't see it. In fact, the only animal in the world who believes truly in a Kantian way about the world is Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote will step off the cliff, float in the middle of a vacuum, and there will be any problem until he notices that he is standing in midair. At that point, you know, with the exception of Wile E. Coyote, even the most idealist of phenomenologists will get out of the way of a fast-moving truck. If they did not get out of the way of fast-moving cars, we wouldn't even have to have this discussion right now, because they would all be dead. They would cross the street thinking, oh, that's just my consciousness. There goes Heidegger. There goes Husserl. There goes Merleau-Ponty. And we wouldn't, they wouldn't even have disciples. In other words, in practice, your idealist that thinks that there's nothing objective gets out of the way of fast-moving cars. Why? Because they know inside themselves that it is important objectively not to be hit by a fast-moving car. That it causes physical damage to your body. It doesn't matter what you think. Okay, there's a fast-moving car. Okay, that's just a signifier. I'm going to change my signifier.
What happens with people that walk on nails?
Well, but that's a different thing. That is this. I'll bet you those guys had to train themselves for months and months and months to be able to control the pain and to be able to even not feel it. Well, yeah, if it's a skill, I can imagine that you can develop a skill.
You can develop a skill to develop new feet or something?
Yeah, whether develop a skill so that pain becomes becomes numb.
No, it's not.
It gets numbed and doesn't really hurt you.
Wait a minute.
But that guy with the nails will still be hit by a fast-moving truck.
But you're saying that self-preservation, you're saying that's a given and that's like an objective thing, the desire to live. I mean, that's clearly
Well,
not.
that's well,
universal.
because you can commit suicide or
What you think is best, I mean, besides all the people...
No, that's why I said a percentage of people, there's a small percentage of mothers that will drop their babies.
And it's because Deleuze says this variable system, you can allow for variables, and so there's like a built-in bulletproof vest here that Deleuze has, right? I
That's
mean,
a nice
because you
expression.
can allow
Bullet for your vest.
a bulletproof vest because if the bullet is...
Oh, I got it.
All right,
I
okay.
got
So,
it.
you have this...
Remember how we started this class? I just to reframe it, and I love this conversation. Don't think, I'm enjoying it. But remember how the class started? I started with animal intelligence because what I said was we're going to discuss two different traditions. One which says that there is a sharp discontinuity between animals and ourselves, and another one that says that there's a continuity between the intelligence of dolphins and chimpanzees and mammals and birds in general and ourselves, and not a sharp discontinuity. In other words, we share things with animals, and therefore we already come built with built-in habits and evolutionarily developed avoidance of risks and searching for opportunities, that make us different than Wile E. Coyote, right? That make us, like most animals, walk with a certain distance off a cliff. There are a few animals that jump off the cliff, and only when certain hormonal imbalances that have very little evolutionary value that can occur make them jump off the cliff. But there are very few cases, and so this is why we shouldn't think about this in deterministic terms. We should always think about it in probabilistic terms. What are, if there's a high percentage of people who consider something significant, not to suffer, not to, to feed your children, to avoid danger, at least reckless danger, and there's only a very small percentage that don't consider that significant, that's perfectly acceptable, because it's not deterministic. It's not something that everybody should do. It's something that the majority of people should. Yes?
Okay, so aren't we like Wile E. Coyote in so many things we do?
Like?
Before, you used the example of the placebo, for example. The moment we tell these people that the drug they took is a placebo, they're helpless in the will. Or
No,
with the
that
issue of
is-
free will, for example.
Yeah, that is not exactly Wile E. Coyote, but because, it is not exactly risking your life. It's not defying gravity. But you're absolutely right. The placebo effect does show that there is an interaction between your mind and what you believe, and perhaps your immune system, or perhaps, and this is because your mind, if you believe in know-how, is mostly embodied. It's not something that's floating on top of your brain that shouldn't have any effect on your body. Your mind, if you believe Hume, is embodied, just like the minds of animals. It's not something produced by signifiers that's floating on top of your brain. It's something embodied. And if the mind is embodied, then stress that you feel at the psychological level and anxiety about losing your job, for instance, which is a completely linguistic thing, because you're using words for it. Am I going to lose my job tomorrow? What's going to happen to my family, and so on? That anxiety over 3 or 4 weeks weakens your immune system. You get a flu or something, and then the disease maybe kills you because you have weakened your immune system with that constant psychological stress. And so I completely agree with you. The mind, that's what I'm saying. The mind is not as floating on top of the brain with signifiers, with free-floating or disembodied signifiers. If the mind is Humean, then the mind is directly connected to intensities. Not only the intensities of color and the intensities of sound, but the intensities of humiliation, the intensities of pride, the intensities of love, the intensities of hatred. Well, those are intensities, right? You can hate somebody a little, or you can hate him, like I hate the Pope, a lot. Or you can, feel very